Hi, I'm Sam Booth, Planning Manager with Douglas County Community Development. Today I want to talk to you about tools that Douglas County is using for floodplain preservation. Most of the tools that Douglas County has for floodplain preservation and open space preservation in general are contained within our Consolidated Development Code, which is Title 20 in Douglas County's codes. The county's development regulations help protect floodplains and open space through the Transfer of Development Rights Program, cluster development, as well as Plan Development Overlay Districts. Other programs that the county has historically used to conserve floodplains include public land exchanges, Southern Nevada Public Lands Management Act funds, and Question 1 acquisition funds. In addition to the Consolidated Development Code, Douglas County has an open space plan that was first approved in 2000. This plan was put in place and the primary purpose was to protect agricultural lands and floodplains from development. The plan provided an overview of preservation issues and an action plan and strategies and criteria for acquisition of open space. The plan was last updated in 2007, and during that 2007 plan update, it was noted that over 11,505 acres of open space in the primary floodplain of the Carson Valley had been preserved to date. That equates to almost 18 square miles, 2.4% of the county's total area, or 8.2% of the privately held land in the county. One of the first tools that Douglas County has within its development code is the Transfer of Development Rights, or TDR program. The TDR program works by moving development rights from sending parcels, as you can see in the image on the right. Typically these are mountainous areas, agricultural lands, or sensitive floodplains, and moving those development rights to receiving parcels, which are typically within or adjacent to town centers or other areas prioritized for development. In Douglas County, this program was first adopted in 1996, and in the program, each transfer of development right is equivalent to one dwelling unit. In order to participate in the program, you must have a tract of land that is 40 contiguous acres. Development rights can't be transferred until the property owner has obtained a TDR certificate from the county. Property owners must record a deed restriction or grant a perpetual open space access easement to the county in order to certify those rights. And through this program to date, over 4,104 acres of private land has been preserved. Douglas County's TDR program has designated sending areas, or the areas that the program is trying to preserve, as zoning districts, and two zoning districts in particular. The first being the FR19, or Forest and Range 19-acre minimum parcel size. The second being the A19, agricultural minimum 19-acre minimum parcel size. On the map on the right side of the screen here, the FR19 zoning districts you can see as the light tan color on the west side and primarily the east side in the Pine Nut Mountains. And the A19 agricultural zoning district is concentrated to the center of the valley where the prime agricultural lands are. In this image you can also see the Carson River and the West Fork and the East Forks of the river. Of course, much of the floodplain that Douglas County has in the Carson Valley is right here in these agricultural areas. Douglas County's program has designated receiving areas through its future land use maps in the Douglas County Master Plan. And these are designated primarily adjacent to or within urban service boundaries. These are areas adjacent to or within the towns where urban services such as sewer, water, and other utilities can be provided to future development. These are areas of expected growth. And additionally, these are areas that Douglas County Code permits up to the highest density, 16 units per acre, to be constructed. In the map on the right, you can see in orange some of the receiving areas around Minden and Gardnerville, and at the southern portion of the map, the Gardnerville Ranchos. Some of the benefits of the TDR program are that the county has the ability to define these sending and receiving areas. And through that, the county can guide growth to receiving areas and away from floodplains or other sensitive lands. Through the program, as designated today, landowners receive a bonus of 7 development rights per 19 acres for preserving floodplains, or 7 units per 19 acres for preserving or restricting water rights to the land. The TDR program promotes continued use of the land by ranchers or landowners. It's an income generator for them. By recording that conservation easement and preserving the land, they receive a cash incentive when they're able to sell those transfer of development rights. But they're able to retain on the property and stay, maintain ranching the land. Through the program historically, in 1996, only 2 transfer of development rights were granted for a 19-acre parcel. And therefore the program was not utilized until the county amended the program in 2001 and added these bonuses. Once again, just to recap some of the bonuses, under the current regulations, an A19 parcel is worth 9 transfer development rights by base just right, plus bonuses for 7 transfer development rights within the 100-year floodplain. 1 transfer development right can be gained for public lands access, and an additional 20 transfer development rights for every 100 acres of contiguous parcels that are being preserved. On the right-hand side of the screen, you can see a pie chart showing that 72% of the land that's been preserved through this program has been within the floodplain. There are a few pitfalls with the transfer of development rights program that we're aware of. The first point here is that we know that no new transfer of development rights have been certified since 2009. Additionally, the program is voluntary and requires an agreement between private property owners to certify that transfer of development right and for a developer to purchase that from that landowner that certified it. When TDRs are scarce, prices of those development rights rise, and developers may not be willing to participate in the program because it can add to the cost of their developments. Additionally, other problems are that large landowners, we have seen, can conserve their own land and generate transfer of development rights, but use that to develop other areas of their own property. And when this happens, those transfer of development rights then are not able to be used by outside landowners or developers. Additionally, the program is dependent upon demand for new development. And so it's development that drives the program. And so if we don't have demand for development, the program is going to suffer. Some receiving areas that have been designated through the program are no longer suitable for development. This slide shows a chart of the transfer of development rights program land that has been conserved from 2002 when it was first started to be utilized up until today. You can see that 3,975 transfer of development rights have been certified total. 3,715 of those have been transferred to the developers. And so there's a remaining 260 that are out there to be able to be purchased. But all of this equates to over 4,104 acres that have been conserved through the program today. And you can see some of the property owners in the acreage that they've conserved in the chart towards the bottom of the screen. On the right side of the slide here, we've mapped each of those conservation easements that have been in the land that has been conserved through the program. Once again, this is a close-up image of the Carson Valley, and you can see again at the center of the image the Carson River here, and you'll notice that many of the conserved lands through the program are adjacent to the Carson River, and will be located in some of those sensitive floodplains. So we know that the TDR program needs some modifications. As I said previously, no new land has been preserved through the program since 2009, and staff does feel that it may need to be modified again in order to be more effective. Douglas County staff, as well as the Planning Commission, through the county's master plan, have identified some possible strategies. One of those would be creating a TDR bank. And this would be independent of Douglas County. It would be somewhere where TDRs can be stored and would operate that a landowner could sell their transfer of development right to the bank, and a developer could go to the bank to find those transfer of development rights. This would help to lubricate that process between the sellers and the buyers of transfer of development rights. The proceeds, any proceeds gained through this bank could be used to buy more development rights for the bank to hold. And successful examples of this are in King County, Washington, and Palm Beach County, Florida. Also, as I said previously, Douglas County does believe that we need to re-examine the receiving areas that we have today, as some of those may not be suitable for development any longer. Some of those may be in areas that development is not desirable any longer as well. One option that the Douglas County Planning Commission and was discussed in our recently updated master plan discusses requiring an increase in density, any increase in density, or upzoning to require and obtain a TDR. In King County, Washington, they have no receiving areas designated, but instead they have specific zoning districts which require TDRs. Another option is that we differentiate between types of development and the TDRs that are required for those types of development. So for instance, it may be that a transfer of development right for one large single family home, a 5,000 square foot home, maybe on an acre lot, requires more transfer of development rights than one unit in an apartment complex. And so that needs to be calculated differently. Another tool that Douglas County uses to preserve floodplains and open space is our cluster development program. And the purpose of a cluster development is to preserve open space, agricultural lands, and floodplains while locating homes in areas which can readily be served by utilities. The regulations in the code require that at least 70% of the land in a development be preserved as open space. In return, a residential development is allowed a density bonus of 2.5 units for each unit that is clustered within that subdivision. And smaller lots are permitted than are typically permitted by the zoning. No clustered lots may be located in a special flood hazard area, and the remaindered parcel must be restricted to ranching, farming, recreation, or open space. On this slide, we have an example of a cluster development, and you'll notice in the two images here that both images have 36 lots, but the image on the right is a clustered development, and you'll notice that the lots there are clustered to preserve the open space. You can see that there's a stream through the center of the property, obviously probably some floodplain there as well. And the smaller lots allow for larger open space areas that can be used by the residents for passive recreation, or continue to be farmed, or just to be open space to preserve that floodplain. The final tool to preserve open space and floodplains in Douglas County that I'd like to talk about today is the county's Plan Development Overlay District. Plan development concepts allow a project to propose varying development standards with the requirement to preserve at least 25% of the site as open space. Plan developments may be used in many zoning districts, and they provide a greater flexibility in the design of the site for the developer. But they require concessions be made by the developer for the public's benefit, and these include parks, trails, and additional landscaping. In the picture here, we show Jake's Wetlands, which is in the Nevada Northwest Specific Plan and was created through plan developments that were developed within that specific plan in the town of Minden. And this preserved floodplain on the site. An example of a plan development in Douglas County is the Genoa Lakes plan development, approved in the 1990s. On the right side of the screen, you can see an image of that. A pro of the plan development in this case was that it condensed lots to areas outside of the special flood hazard area on the western side in the orange of that development. But a con of the plan development process is that once you establish those lots and approve them, the flood map, as we know, can change over time, and this can result in lots being redesignated and if those are built too close to the floodplain. If you look closely at the image here, you can see that some of the lots at the north and the eastern end of the subdivision have been designated in the 100-year floodplain. So in looking to the future, Douglas County does have some options that we want to investigate for other tools that we can use to preserve floodplains and open space. One of the first and most important might be an open space acquisition program. Through this program, Douglas County could actively purchase development rights or conservation easements in order to preserve floodplain and open space. This program would allow the county to target high priority areas and floodplains for preservation. However, this would require a dedicated funding source. And to that point, an open space ballot initiative to raise taxes narrowly failed in both 2000 and as recently as 2020. Another option that Douglas County is investigating is a large acreage zoning district. And this might be a new agricultural zoning district that would be created to require a minimum parcel size of 100 acres. And the idea there being that a large parcel zoning district would prevent further subdivision of agricultural lands and development, which would thereby protect the floodplains that are very often in those agricultural lands. A program like this would require less involvement by the county in land management once those lands are zoned to an agricultural 100-acre district. That's all I have for today. I appreciate your time. I want to thank the Carson Water Subconservancy District. And if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer those. Additionally, if it's after today, if you'd like to reach out to me with any other questions, my email is below, sbooth@douglasnv.us. Thank you.